And it appears we are live. Are we live? Cool.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well,
working.
hey, everybody. This is Josh Seartson of World Alternative Media here. And it's more breaking news today. It's absolutely crazy. And I don't even know what to add to it anymore other than go into the latest articles and bring you guys the latest news. And then we're going to break it down as best as we can. We are joined, of course, by John Snyson and Tim Picciott. And we're going to break down first, just going into how long this could last, because there are some theories that this could last for years and years. And we will also be going into the issues of the economy. Obviously, we got two people that know this issue well, and we'll be breaking down how this is going to affect the economy overall going forward. But before we go into any of that, make sure to press a like below and check those links below and join us at our new newsletter at www.iambanned.com. As we are incredibly shadow banned, and check out all those other links and see ways you can support independent media. But anyway, we're going to go into a whole bunch of stuff. But before we do, John seems to want to say something. What's that?
Guess who got COVID-19?
You?
Rand Paul.
Oh, Rand Paul. Okay, well, that's breaking news. We'll have to source that out right away. Man, eventually the saying is from epidemiologists that we're going to see possibly as much as 80% of the world get it. First it was 70%, then 80%, though other Harvard scientists are saying maybe 10%. All we know is that the effect that it's having might be 10 times worse than the actual illness itself, and the tragedy that is a lot of the older generation and people with asthma and people that are overweight and people with autoimmune diseases getting affected by it. There's a lot more to the story, but before we go into anything more, we are going to go into the first article I have set up for Tim to pull up, which is on Zero Hedge, which is, as it says, we don't have a crystal ball. Cuomo warns lockdowns could last for 9 months or longer. 80% will be infected, and it shows live updates. And I do want to note that we have been hearing many different theories. Some say 2 weeks, some say 2 months. Then it went to 4 months. Then it went to 18 months. Now people are saying it could last 2 years. Possibly people, at least in much of the world, being shut in their homes, not allowed to leave, with threat of being thrown in a cage, or who knows what's going to happen. There's military in the streets of New York City right now. They are deploying the military all over the United States. Canada is shutting down. I'm here in Mexico, in Puerto Vallarta, and yesterday the airports filled with thousands and thousands of people, to the point where it was wall-to-wall people, crowds, because it was mostly Canadians who are going back to Canada because the Canadian government said that if they don't go home now, the medical insurance that they paid for will be canceled, and they will not be able to get their health care paid for if anything happens to them. So countless people are flooding back to Canada. Getting back into the article regarding Cuomo in New York, where full tyranny is on display right now. As it says, Governor Andrew Cuomo's daily press briefings have become high priority events as the coronavirus outbreak spreads across the U.S. And if you could pull up that article on the screen there, Tim. After winning early approval from the FDA to ramp up testing in state labs, Cuomo's star has risen alongside the state's tally of positive tests. He and Trump appear to have declared a truce, with two men acknowledging their intention to cooperate. And as the White House shifts its focus to passing the critical second installment of its economic rescue package, which is futile, which is expected to include rescue packages for small businesses and helicopter money for individuals. Cuomo started the press conference by chiding New Yorkers, primarily those in the city, who took advantage of nice weather over the past few days to crowd into the city's parks, inadvertently helping to spread the virus, as it says anyway. At one point, Cuomo declared that the city had confirmed 374 deaths, taking the assembled reporters by surprise. The statement was soon corrected, as graphic on the screen displays. If you can pull that up there.
Well, you'd only sent me four articles, and I don't see that one as one of the four. And so
you had it up before when I was reading it. At the very
this is just one that I pulled up that I found on my own on Drudge. But it wasn't.
Well, hold on there. We're actually we can pull up. Let me just share it.
It's just an article that says Zero Hedge. We don't have a crystal ball. Cuomo warns lockdowns could last for 9 months or longer.
Well, here, for example,
like earlier.
Well, Harry, you could look at like the U.S. Cases has jumped by 20-something thousand in 2 days.
Sure.
And here,
Well,
and
the
here,
issue right now for me isn't the amount of cases, it's the fact that they are locking down cities for possibly 9 months or more, and possibly as much as 2 years, as some have been claiming. And since we don't have the article to pull up, we'll just jump on to the next one on Italy, which I sent you as well. I sent you 4 articles in your email, Tim, and I put them in a row here. But anyway, if John, if you could take that off the screen so Tim can pull up an article.
yeah, just a second.
All right. Bear with us, folks. We are live, and there are all sorts of technical difficulties that come with being live. Not Merkel, the Italy article I sent you, Tim.
I mean, you sent me 4. Was
4
it at
articles.
10:35 today? I mean,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, this was the link that you had sent me.
Well, those are none of the. Oh, Italy bans any. They changed the title of the article completely. So let me refresh for myself here, because Zero Hedge changed the entire title to a totally different subject for some reason. Same link at the top, though. Anyway, as the article out of Zero Hedge says, Merkel in quarantine after contact with infected doctor. Haha. Italy bans all movement inside the country. And again, they are threatened with possible prison time as much as 5 or more years. You know, when martial law is in full effect, folks, you have to understand that you could expect seeing possibly, you know, shots fired. And honestly, when you have people that are not prepared, stuck in their homes, possibly for 2 months, 4 months, 8 months, 14 months, 18 months, 2 years, as they keep just bringing it up more and more. So you can expect a lot of civil unrest because people bought 5-year supplies of toilet paper, but they did not buy enough food. And the FEMA and all these federal emergency, you know, agencies, they are not going to be able to feed everybody. It's simply not possible. And you have to understand the amount of people versus the amount of government agents. And it's just not possible. People are dependent, and it's going to lead to people going and raiding homes. I believe that. It's unfortunate. I don't want to scare people, but that's a fact. I think that will be the case.
I just got my bidet installed yesterday, so I'm like, come and take it now. So much better investment than 5 years worth of toilet paper. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. For those that are just tuning in, we're going to go over a whole bunch of news today. Make sure to hit that like button and share on social media. We only have 90 out of 138,000 people watching, so obviously we aren't reaching many people today. It is difficult, so join us at iamband.com and join our newsletter there. Send in your email address so we can actually update you on the latest, because we are absolutely crippled right now in our viewership on YouTube. Super chats help a lot too, and check those links below for ways that you can support us.
Especially fitting, given how
welfare.
Everyone's at home right now and not allowed to go outside all throughout the world, and yet people still aren't watching. It's like,
they're watching Netflix. Come on.
Yeah,
did the government actually
ridiculous.
ask Netflix to calm down the amount of like streaming that they were doing because it could break the internet? Like I said, I did see an article last week about that.
Yeah, well, it would definitely break certain internet providers that are garbage in the first place. Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of talk that what happens if ISPs go down? It will only take a little bit, and the whole internet could go down, and then we all lose contact with each other.
No, I think that's over. That's over. That would never.
I've been talking to people that are working in the communications here in Mexico, in the United States, and that do a lot of the stuff that you've been involved in, John, that are saying all it'll take is a little shutter to ISPs. It'll only take a few of them going down, and we could witness not just that, but apps going down too. Telegram, Signal, Messenger going down. There's already power keeps going out throughout Las Vegas right now, and people are losing their internet as well. So honestly, I just think that it would make sense to me that something like that could happen, and that something like that will happen if there is civil unrest. And that's something that we are so dependent on, is our ability to communicate over the internet or over these apps. And we saw what happened to a lot of big names in media, like Alex Jones, for example, in just getting pulled from different apps. And what happens when those apps go down entirely, if that were to happen. We have to understand that it's not about the coronavirus as much as it is about the government, the greatest virus that has ever took hold of mankind. We're going to go into economic issues right away here. And I want to pull up this article out of Zero Hedge. If Tim could put that on the screen. It's Mnuchin, Fed to make $4 trillion in business loans, send $3,000 checks to family of 4. Oh my God. And we're going to go into all the unsustainable
So
things that come with this.
nothing for families of 2.
No, or 3.
No
Well,
kids,
okay.
you get no money.
It's ridiculous. We're going to go to John and Tim right away for all this. As this article says, the U.S., in conjunction with the Federal Reserve, will lend up to $4 trillion to businesses affected by the coronavirus pandemic, according to Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin. And I quote, working with the Federal Reserve, we'll have up to $4 trillion of liquidity that we can use to support the economy, he told Fox News on Sunday. Those are broad-based lending programs. We can leverage our equity working with the Federal Reserve, he added. And I quote, the president is very determined to protect American workers. The first part of are what I call small business retention loans. If you're a small business, you'll get 2 weeks of cash flow to pay your workers. You'll also get some overhead. And if you do that, your loans will be forgiven, says Steven Mnuchin. Mnuchin said the plans should help small and large businesses get through the next 90 to 120 days. Well, that's, first of all, not exactly enough. Second of all, we're looking at possibly hundreds of millions of jobs lost. Probably more than 1 billion jobs lost globally, millions and hundreds of millions of businesses, or well, tens of millions of businesses anyway, globally, getting just completely ransacked.
Keep America great. And
It's just crazy, Tim. What do you think? How is this sustainable at all? Is it?
Well, it's not sustainable. I mean, it's exactly what we've been talking about to begin with, narrowing down this whole entire, I mean, Trump said Trump sounded like me in 2015 and 16. Going back to 2012, he sounded like all of us. And you go back to his Twitter feed from back then saying, oh, it's irresponsible what the Federal Reserve is doing and printing money, and they're going to cause hyperinflation. And, it was exactly like that until he got into office. And then everything changed. And then all the Republicans and all the Tea Party people, they all laid down their swords, trust a plan, go with Q. Believe me, there's 4D chess. It's going on. This whole pandemic is all part of the program. We're going to go get all the pedophiles. Just wait. And so it's like, you know what? How does anybody still think that this is still the case? I mean, what's going on now is absolutely unsustainable. I had mentioned that their balance sheet was like a 600-pound person that loses 5 pounds, goes down to 595 pounds, and all of a sudden they're like, if I lose another pound, I'm going to die. Except now we're going up to 700, 800, 900 pounds in terms of the balance sheet. It's going to absolutely explode. We probably have a lot of Canadian listeners, so it's going to be the hockey stick, and the hockey stick's going to keep going up, 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 because there's no way to stop this. And then
you're going to end up like Augustine Costins over there at the Biz.
See, and with all due respect to people that are writing in the chat right now, there's one person that wrote, the Public Punisher wrote, look, Josh, I like your intentions and spirit, but this is not going to collapse for 2 important reasons. This is not a war, and the Fed is printing virtual money for the world. Are you not paying attention to what's actually happening right now? I mean, when you have possibly $1 trillion a day in repo.
No. Actually, Tim and me went in great detail to show that there's zero repo going on right now almost, and everybody's getting QE'd, by the way.
Now
it's QE. It's what they call it, though.
They have the ability to do repo, but right now there was 3-month repo operations. A lot of that was utilized, but now these daily repos, the banks don't want to take the money because that's money that they have to lend out, and they don't trust the counterparty risk on that. And so if you don't trust the ability of somebody to pay you back, it doesn't matter how cheap you can get money.
They go straight to the Fed.
Exactly.
Well, I want to address that person's question. I didn't hear the full question, but the greater context of this question is the fact that our money is debt. In order to get money into the system, you have to create a treasury bill, bond, or note. That is debt. That was money that was never there to begin with. And so there's always going to be more money. There's going to be more debt than there is money or technically currency out there. It's a mathematical impossible situation. So if the Fed can take a keyboard, print up, trillions and trillions of dollars just out of thin air, and then all of a sudden they then start buying bonds. Well, if you own a bond, you are the highest creditor to that company. And so then if those companies default, you then own the company. This is the Federal Reserve owning the world. They're owning the corporate bond market. They're going to be they're actually going to start owning stocks, because instead of directly buying stocks, they're allowing banks to pledge stocks as collateral. So you give them the stocks as collateral, the collateral becomes worthless. And then you meanwhile got money, which is effectively the Fed buying stocks, but it's a loophole for the Fed to be able to buy stocks. They've also cut the reserve requirement down to 0 in the past week and a half. So the
Canadian banks
aren't even required to hold on to any of your money anymore. So I mean, I thought that maybe they, get it down to like 5% or 2%, is something reasonable, but to go back to zero. And then the fact that I think it was maybe 6 or 7 years ago, they changed the laws to say something along the lines of, the money in the bank isn't even your money, that that is a liability of the bank, and that, that it's open to creditors. And so right now, I mean, I think there is, just so much craziness going on. If you keep all of your money in the cash, yeah, it was good to be in cash, 2 months ago. But, there's better ways to play this. And in a long enough time horizon, I think we're going to see a hyperbolic stock market on a long enough time horizon, but you're going to see a hyperbolic rise in everything
Venezuela. Yeah, no, that's exactly what's going to happen. We're going to see what happened in Venezuela.
We can't hear you right now, so I don't know what's
let me just add that nothing will ever be the same again. We can't expect things to just go back to normal the way they were, because we're looking at complete seizure of private property by governments around the world. All these like millions and millions of businesses shutting down, billions of jobs gone worldwide. I mean, this is a complete global shutdown. This isn't something that's just going to go away and become normal and normalize real fast. This is excruciatingly detrimental to the entire world. And to have a pandemic on top of a stock market collapse and the vast amount of printing that's happening, which is going to cause a bunch of inflation. And then on top of that, military in the street and the inability for people to walk out in the street without possibly going to jail. I mean, there's going to be forced vaccines. They're pushing a cashless society right now. They're basically creating prisons within states and provinces and countries. I mean, guys, this is not going to just normalize anytime soon. And like I said earlier in the video, they're talking about, first they said 2 months, then 4 months, then they said 18 months. Now they're saying it could be 2 years that many people in many parts of the world will be stuck in their house. I mean, I don't know if that is specifically going to happen, but I do know it's pretty concerning when they even float that idea.
Well, in Israel, they actually have an app that if you're in quarantine, they'll actually follow you and see exactly where you're at by triangulating your phone and then coming and picking you up if you're not resisting. And they actually, there's videos of people being taken off the streets that weren't, adhering to the quarantines. But actually,
the government is actually telling people to report their neighbors now too.
Oh, of course they did. Like right on everybody.
The Jews.
And another thing that's happening right now is the first time in 228 years is that the stock exchange floor at the New York Stock Exchange is going to be closed for like actual physical people to be there.
Now let's take a look on the screen right now, because this article was from, I believe, over a year ago. Let me see the exact date on here. So June 4th, 2019. And if you read down all the way to the bottom, this is Jerome Powell. Perhaps it is time to retire the term unconventional when referring to tools that were used in the crisis. We know that tools like these are likely to be used and needed in form in future ELB spells, which we hope will be rare, he said. So yeah, I guess it's not rare. So the unconventional is now the conventional. This is, it's crazy is the new normal right now. And so
this is exactly as all of us warned for a long time, that we would see a repeat of Ben Bernanke saying all was fine in 2007 before the collapse.
That's Osama Ben Bernanke to you. But the other thing I want to point out is on Wednesday, there was a trailing 18 days. There was a balanced portfolio. So 60% stock, 40% bonds. And my business partner, Kirk Chisholm, and myself have been saying for a while that because of what happened in 2008, that being diversified doesn't work in a crash, because everything is almost as a one-to-one correlation. Everything goes down. Now, it used to work in the past, but it's been so financialized, especially with the ETFs out there, and so that's why the strategy that we had, where we were betting on extreme volatility, where as long as the markets move more than 5% in either direction. So it worked perfectly last year, because, the market went up 30, so we got 25. This year, the market went down. We capped our losses at 5%. And so year to date, we're down 5. Beautiful position to be in. And the greater things go down, the more our clients then get to go buy in. And so people who are using the conventional method of just diversifying across, what happened trailing 18 days on Wednesday is that that conventional portfolio was down a little over 15%. I think it was 15.3%, meaning if you were, your average 55 to 65 year old in that 18-day period, even though you had 40% of your money in bonds, you still lost 15%. And the odds of that occurring at 7, this was 8 standard deviation event. At 7 standard deviation events, it's 1 in a billion year occurrence. And so Wikipedia doesn't even list out 8 standard deviations. It gives you a formula that's like this long. I'm like, you know what? So if we have any economic nerds out there, which we probably do, and you guys want to tell us, or if you're really good with Google and want to tell
economic nerds watching Wham, I can't even imagine that being the case.
I know, yeah, and so yeah, they're just here for all of our good looks. I don't know, but when it comes to if you guys could Google what 8 standard deviations is, like how rare of an event that is, I was only able to quickly find 7, and 7 was over 1 billion years. So what happened on Wednesday was a once in a billion year event, meaning so I'm not over here taking a victory lap. I want to help people. I want to protect people. If you guys go to the website for limited time only, it's ringing into my phone. But guess what? I'm busy enough that that's probably not going to be happening, soon because of how, all these people that are now getting exposed to what I've been saying.
Right.
And the thing is, difference between me and Peter Schiff is people say, oh, I'm copying Peter Schiff. Well, Peter Schiff's been getting his butt handed to him in the stock market right now and what's going on. Whereas I was the only person that really made money last year. And, this year, okay, -5. I'll take -5 when everyone else is down like 34%.
And then your put options were really good timing.
It's like about 6. I know I didn't check it yesterday. I didn't check it on Friday, but I think on Thursday it was up like 600%. And then with yesterday going, I'm losing track of the days here. But so on Friday with the market going down down another 900 points on Friday. I'm sure we're probably looking at, about 700% return on that investment over the course of 2 months. But really what that was is we used a tiny bit of somebody's portfolio to then hedge the entire rest of it. And so in an event where the central bank money printing, because I thought there's just as good a chance the market going up 50% as it going down 50. And that's a view that I held for a long time. And so we were able to ride this baby up. And then, we got off this party, very, very early, or not party, I guess, the party came to a screeching halt. And so we were able to, leave before the party got crashed by the cops. And who knows? Now the cops are going out, killing people in the streets who are out, getting groceries. Who knows where things are going. Maybe the National Guard is going to be called in to start, giving people food. Do you know what's going on in Italy right now? Like how they're getting food and what's going on over there?
Well, I know that people that are trying to get out of their house to buy food, depends where in Italy, because parts of Italy, the more rural communities, there's been places that have actually declared that they have no more new cases and all that kind of stuff. And some more people are able to go outside. But in the biggest metropolitan areas of, say, Milan or Venice is empty. You could see to the bottom of the water. And if you've ever been to Venice, you'll be shocked to think that you could actually see to the bottom of the water because it's pretty dirty water. And people are going out and getting arrested for daring to go outside. And in many cases being charged for murder. And I mean, it's unthinkable that a place like Italy, people go outside. I mean, Italy has been facing fascism off and on for most of its existence, if not empire of some kind. But it's just shocking.
Yeah, actually what's happening in Norway right now, there's breaking news that massive amounts of people are actually putting into the government that they're moving from their current locations up to the cottages.
Yeah, well, and there's a lot of cases of people going into FEMA facilities. They are making the Phillies Stadium into a FEMA facility, a giant FEMA facility in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania right now. And there's talk of a bunch of major sports centers being used for the same thing in New York and LA. What are they going to do with that kind of stuff? I don't know. I'm a conspiracy theorist. I'm looking at that and going, that does not sound like a good plan at all. So I don't know where this is going. And unfortunately, so many people that call themselves freedom fighters are becoming so subservient to all this under the guise of, well, they said it's dangerous and we are dependent slaves, so we need to depend on these people to save us from ourselves and all this kind of stuff. It's really sad and really pathetic in a lot of ways too. I do want to mention also the TSX in Canada is hitting levels that it hasn't seen in almost 10 years. It's coming down on, it's at 11,851, where it briefly surpassed in 2012, but mostly we haven't seen this level as a normality since around 2009. For the TSX. So obviously we are witnessing something that's quite unprecedented in Canada as well. And I don't know how much printing we're going to see in the next few months and how much it's actually going to affect things. One thing I know for sure is without jobs, with all the printing going on, with the amount of people that are stuck at home with military police in the streets, cashless society coming and all that kind of stuff, I honestly feel like we're walking into one of the biggest prison planet nightmare scenarios that one could imagine that makes Orwell look like child's play. And I'm really concerned about where it's going from the monetary perspective, from the freedom perspective, from the health perspective, and from just civil unrest, people attacking each other, killing each other for food to do whatever they need to do for their family. And I believe that we might see that in many places around the world. And I'm really concerned about that. I do want Tim to finally pull up the last article I sent him from PBS NewsHour, where we'll go just a little bit into this, and I'll go to John on this after. But as the article from PBS says, Federal Reserve to lend additional $1 trillion a day to large banks. And as the article goes into, the Federal Reserve moved with unprecedented force and speed Friday to pump huge amounts of cash into the financial system to ease disruptions that have escalated since the viral outbreak. And of course, this article is from 2 days ago, but I think it's pertinent as it came out after the stock market closed on Friday. The New York Federal Reserve Bank said it will offer $1 trillion of overnight loans a day through the end of this month to large banks. This is in addition to $1 trillion in 14-day loans it is offering every week. Banks so far have not borrowed nearly as much as the New York Fed is offering, and the loans are quickly repaid. None of the funding is from taxpayer dollars. Wall Street analysts say the huge number is intended to calm markets by demonstrating that the Fed's ability to lend short-term is nearly unlimited. Totally crazy. The Fed is also buying treasury bonds at a furious pace and will soon run through the $500 billion in purchases it announced on Sunday. It is also accelerating its purchases of mortgage-backed securities. Most analysts expect they will buy more. And I quote, the Fed has just worked with unprecedented speed, said Stephen Friedman, former economist at the New York Fed and senior macroeconomist at McKay Shields, an asset manager. I think there will be no hesitation on their part about buying as many treasuries and mortgage-backed securities as necessary. It's just crazy when they say money doesn't grow on trees. It sure seems like it does these days. And when you apply that to the people and how it's going to carry over to people, and also their hope that this will stop bank runs from happening, which I think are completely inevitable. I've already seen bank runs here in Mexico and Puerto Vallarta. There were people lined up way out the door trying to get money out of their bank account. People here know this well. Honestly, one thing I've been amazed by is how educated people are here in Mexico on what this is going to turn into for them and the precautions they're taking, while as everyone else in the United States, for the most part, is buying toilet paper and no food, and then it's going to be stuck without food and dependent on the government to deliver food when they close every single last thing down. John, what do you think about this insane amount of printing we're witnessing at the Fed and this notion that somehow it's going to save the banks?
It's not going to save the banks. That's the first thing. But actually, I want to just mention, because we were talking about how Italy is doing. They're actually closing down all the counties in Italy and all the all private and public transportation. The only exceptions, are for proven work needs and absolute emergencies for health reasons. So they basically are closing down all transportation, everything now in all of Italy, and this is from the 22nd of March. So just wanted to say that. But then, yeah, getting back to the Federal Reserve and what they're doing. Tim, actually, can you pull up the chart that shows all the that I have on my website, but actually we can see all the interventions that the Federal Reserve is doing, and we can actually see, because I want to show what the Fed is not showing us because they don't collect the data and show it on their website anymore for some crazy reason. But if we go to, I have a special page on my site called Fed Repo Operations, and Tim is going to go all the way back here to the balance sheet, which is the last one, Tim. And I just wanted to, show you this, because this you won't see on the Federal Reserve's website. And I'm pretty accurate, I think, because people are around, I'm at 4.68 trillion that they have right now, which is actually breaking all-time records. They never had so much garbage on their balance sheet. And as you can see, as this is happening, you have a full-on crisis. You're gonna see the Fed. Actually, it was funny. Before me and before I sent you that article, Josh, was right before, right after me and Tim did a video that we were talking about that they were gonna do those interventions in the economy, that they're gonna just have to up it to 4 or 5 trillions, and then sure enough, they just came out that they just did it. And of course, they don't care about families that have that are just two people together. They don't get any money. You just have a family. you get $3,000. So you're going to see the government is going to try to intervene, doing so much wrong, you know, when they're trying to like print money into all those existence and shove money into the economy. But how are we going to pay? Nobody's going to ever pay all this debt back. It's just going to be, you know, slushing around and like just watching all the corporate debt, because that's their main focus now. I was warning about that, you know, that they have to go and intervene massively in corporate debt markets because of all the collateralized loan obligations and the leveraged loans that are, you know, the derivatives that are out there on all of that debt. So that's what they're trying to prevent from happening. But I don't think they're going to be able to pull that off as we're seeing, you know, more and more slowdown, you know, as more and more of the economy shuts down. Just look at what Italy just did, basically banning all traffic in between, you know, RMs, as we have them here in Canada, and counties in the United States. So you're seeing that happening. And basically here in Canada, we have, you know, a quarantine. If you travel from Manitoba to Saskatchewan or Ontario, you have to quarantine yourself for 2 weeks.
And that's within you know, domestically, and you know,
Yeah.
it's crazy. And this is worldwide. Like literally anywhere you can think of in the entire world, they're seeing the effects. And one place they're not seeing the effects as much as others is here where I am in Mexico. Though the effects are still very, very clear. And one thing that was amazing was, you know, just when I first got here about 6 days ago, I booked a ticket. I left my house. I left my vehicle. I left everything behind. I took enough clothes in a backpack with my laptop, cameras, microphone, and laptop, all that kind of stuff. I just took off with that in my bag. And last second, 6 hours before my flight, I booked a flight. It cost like $200 altogether, 2 people altogether. A really cheap Airbnb for a month. And I come here and there was crowds of people in the streets, massive spring break parties, nightclubs going on all down the beach. And literally the next day, all those nightclubs were closed. All bars were told that they can no longer serve drinks, alcoholic drinks, without first serving food, which actually makes no sense because food can spread it, alcohol can kill it, but okay, whatever. And all these restaurants here are like, well, we're going to serve alcohol anyway. We don't care. Screw the government and, you know, all that kind of stuff, which is one of the reasons I love Mexico. But on top of that, I've just seen the whole Canadian, the whole American crowd shrink down dramatically just in the last 24 hours. I'm witnessing very, very few people that can speak English left here. I am being forced to learn Spanish very well, by the way, because, you know, I have no choice. We're just seeing a dramatic decline in tourism here. Businesses are really concerned, but, you know, they're not panicking. They're not scared. They're like, well, we'll figure something out. And then when I ask them, and basically this is like everyone, when I ask them, what's going to happen when they shut down your businesses by force and force you into your home and say you cannot leave your home? And they're like, well, we're not going to do that. Us Mexicans? No. Huh. We go out. We will walk in the streets. No, they cannot make us panic. And that's one of the things that I'm really excited about being here for, because I'm really concerned about my family. I'm really concerned about people in the United States and Canada right now. Yesterday or last night, the airport in Puerto Vallarta filled up wall to wall with thousands of people trying to escape to Canada because they said they're cutting off all health insurance that they had originally paid for in Canada if they don't go home immediately. So they're basically getting all these people to rush back to Canada so they can be quarantined, and who knows how long. I wanted to leave it off here, guys. First of all, make sure to press like on this video and check those links below, and join me at iamband.com, linked in the description below, as well as become a client of Tim's. Check out Patreon, Subscribe Star, check out John's books, all linked below, and of course cryptocurrencies for tips, because it's really hard to stay alive right now as a media. Super chats help a lot too. I wanted to close this off by asking, can the economy be saved at all at this point? Because this is obviously so unprecedented that I can't really compare it to any other moment in history. This is bigger than the Great Depression as far as where it's going. And I don't think you can even say, well, in this time in history, we did this, so that might say. What can possibly be done, if anything, or shall it just be left to die and rot as it is a criminal system to begin with? Well, one of you guys could go into that.
We just printed up a $200 trillion coin.
Well, I saw that a politician claimed a $2 trillion coin. Remember when Obama said that in like 2012?
Yeah, it was a quadrillion coin. Yeah,
this is 200 trillion. Not this is my plan.
Wasn't it a quadrillion coin or something?
So stupid.
Yeah.
John, go ahead. Tim, whatever. I just
Well, the problem is you can't fix a burning fire, like a burning fire, by putting kerosene or any type of gasoline on it, and that's what they're doing. They're basically, you have $10 trillion in corporate debt that are really struggling. Probably 50 to 70% of it is rated junk and is going to default. But then they're adding another, 2-3 trillion on top of that to try to bail out these insolvent corporations on top of that. So you're basically just adding more stupidity onto it, and there's no way to really save insolvent corporations other than letting them go insolvent and then dealing with the aftermath of that.
It sounds like your dog has a coronavirus in the background.
Yeah, who let the dogs out over there? So I just made a comment. I just made a comment, a video that I did with Kirk Chisholm, who we run the portfolios over here at. So I go by the Liberty Advisor, but my company that I work with is actually called Innovative Advisory Group. So I just want to clarify that distinction, and I would highly recommend that video because we go in there in great detail, and actually that video is on Wham as well. But if you guys could show us some love, we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers because today we tried going live. John and I tried going live from my channel, and they wouldn't let us. It just wouldn't let us.
You put in the wrong name, Tim.
I don't know if the title was the title was a new economic 9/11 is upon us. So I don't know if that was it or because I didn't have 1,000 subscribers. So help me to help everybody out spreading this propaganda out there. And it's a good propaganda that's out there, and to help me get to 1,000, not so I can be, look at me, I'm at 1,000.
Yeah.
So
and before we quit, Josh, I wanted to mention what I just launched, which is the Global Bank Run Watch, and it's bankrun.org. It's going to be great. It's going to be the greatest bank run page in history. It's going to be huge.
Everyone tells me it's the greatest. It's excellent. Everyone says it.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I actually created a map of risk assessments, and actually, I'm about to post what that risk assessment is, but one is actually obedience of the citizens. Even though Canadian citizens are obedient, the banks are just getting ravaged right now, and there's a lack of cash everywhere here in Winnipeg. So we're seeing a lot of massive strain on that, and as you can see, there's a lot of other ones that are starting to happen.
Mongolia looks like a good place to be right now.
Yeah, Mongolia is
maybe
pretty
Libya.
Actually,
Libya.
Well, yeah, war-ravaged countries a lot lot are nicer, but here you can see an explanation. There's going to be a lot more there. I'm going to put up a big news
and I quote
feed,
John Snyson: yeah. War-ravaged countries is nicer.
Yeah.
Signed, John Snyson.
There you go.
And where's the Grammarly affiliate link for that? No.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I really advise everyone to go check that out. Bankrun.org, is that?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think there's look, this is both the scariest and most exciting time in history because it's all about what we do next and how we utilize this information for the best. Keep your family safe, be prepared. It's everything that we've always talked about here at WHAM is being prepared. Better to be overly prepared than underprepared. And as I always said, food, water, shelter, self-defense. You're not gathering things up for the toughest guy in the block. And don't take that self-defense part lightly because right now, I mean, you can have all that food that you might have stocked up, but if you have no way to defend it, when the food wars happen, I believe they will happen when there are raids, which I do believe will happen because honestly, people are going to do whatever they can to feed their families. And honestly, I don't blame them. I just feel horrible for those people not being prepared, horrible for the people that are going to be victimized in this because people expect the government is going to go and help them with food. Not going to happen. I mean, there might be here and there apples and oranges, but seriously.
Oh yeah, just get garbage GMO food. That's fine.
Yeah, and they can't possibly produce and get that to every single person. First of all, the food producers are all going out of business right now, and they can't even produce the food. The workers are at home. So how is that going to happen? How is that sustainable? It's not. Though I think with China BSing, claiming that everything's fine now and that they've cured coronavirus, which is nonsense because over 1 million phone numbers have disappeared off the records around Wuhan in the last month, even though they claimed that they don't have coronavirus anymore. Either all those people just deleted their phones and don't have phones anymore, or they are dead and their phones are gone. I don't know. I don't want to spread too much fear here, but I mean, I'm just looking at these facts and going, that's kind of strange. And yet China's saying everything's fine. I think they're moving to China. The power is shifting to China, as I always was concerned of, going from Henry Kissinger and Mao Zedong to the Trilateral Commission with Zbigniew Brzezinski, the pressure for a cashless society and a technocratic superstate, social credit, artificial intelligence. I think this is a time, and this is why we need to work together. We need to be prepared. We need to have some form of wealth insurance. People, the banks, they're going to run out of the banks. You won't be able to get your money out of the banks eventually. I don't know what's going to happen to credit cards, Visa, MasterCard. I have a feeling that's not going to work out too well either. So honestly, like, what are you guys doing to protect your wealth? And if it's not like, if you don't have a lot of money to begin with, I guarantee you'll have a lot less by the end of it. Do something. Do something to make sure that you can protect your family and protect your own life. Because at this point, we are in the craziest time in all of world history. I do believe we've never seen anything like this. I hope to God we never see it again, but that's too optimistic of me. I just hope that people work together and, get together and stand up for freedom and for their own health and for their own safety outside of this racket we call government, because government is organized crime and they're using this crisis because they will not let a crisis go to waste. And we need to be very wary, very careful, because who knows how much this will move in 2-3 weeks. I can't even imagine. It scares the hell out of me, but I want to have faith in humanity that we are going to get through this. We're going to work together. We're going to come up with ideas, and we're going to come out of this stronger. The children, I feel terrible for them. They're traumatized by all this. Let's hope that they become a stronger and more intelligent generation than my generation and the generations before us, because honestly, we messed up. We messed up big time. Maybe not us personally, but the generation did. And there's a lot more that we as individuals could have done too. That's too late. Let's focus on the future. Let's make this a better world, because my God, I don't want to see children grow up in the kind of world that I think is about to blow up in all of our faces. So
and if we just ban encryption, it will save the children, according to Lindsey Graham. So
it's so insane. And by the way, there's bombs being dropped overseas right now. The monetary system is going to need a huge war to get out of this, and they won't be able to. I can't even imagine the deficit spending. Oh my God. So guys, this is not sustainable. It cannot sustain itself. It's done. That system is collapsing and there's no salvaging it. But with that said, there's ways to create new, brilliant, decentralized systems based on the free markets and freedom in general, and making sure that all of us work together in a way that's not enforced, but intelligent, smart, and innovative. So,
can I give a plug for, and last year at Anarcho, not the one I just did, but the previous year, I gave a speech called Crisis Retiring, How to Retire into an Economic Crisis. That was the blueprint. If you looked at that video, followed the blueprint of what I was laying out, you'd be making out like a bandit right now. I went over the 7 biggest retirement risks. I probably can't rattle them off all right at the top of my head, but it was inflation risk, deflation risk, sequence of return risk, market risk, longevity risk. I don't know. Like I said, I can't. It's just interest rate risk. There's one more I'm forgetting there, but it's more than just one risk. You gotta factor in. And so I was trying to see how all this stuff is coming and how you can avoid this. And what you need to realize that the word for and the Chinese symbol for crisis is also the Chinese symbol for opportunity. There's a ton of money to be made in this, because a lot of the biggest companies in the world got formed during these types of recessions and depressions and calamities. There is a lot of opportunity. There's going to be stocks that got beat down way too much. There's going to be things like potentially silver and Bitcoin that got beaten down way too much. There is opportunity to be had. And so, quick shameless plug. So I guess if you guys want to get that presentation, you can text 71441 is the number, and then it's TDV is so for the Dollar Vigilante, because that was the name of the conference we're at. So if you text that, you're gonna get my book for free, and then also the highlights from that presentation, which is 15 minutes of the best parts of that presentation, which people paid hundreds of dollars to be there, thousands if you count how, and then that information is more valuable today. Well, actually, it was more valuable back then because you could have protected yourself, but you also have to be able to
protect yourself.
But you can still protect yourself. There's a good chance this market could go down a lot. And there's also a good chance it could hyperinflate because the Fed just comes in and starts buying everything. So if you guys want to talk to me one-on-one for 15 minutes, go to the website, thelibertyadvisor.com, click over here, work with Tim, click on this button, and then you've got my calendar right there at the bottom of the screen. As soon as the internet loads, go right over there, plug yourself in, 15 minutes. And believe me, pretty soon, I've already talking with 2 or 3 other advisors who that's going to be getting shipped off to them unless you've got just a boatload of money. And so right now, even if you've got 100 grand, you can come talk to me for 15 minutes. We can see what we can do to get you on a better path, because, a lot of these advisors say, oh, just buy and hold, buy and hold. They just bought and hold you off a cliff. And then they wanted to, and so the same things that you want to be in. So our strategy is going to change very soon here. So we were in one strategy to protect yourself from the downturn, and now we need to get, and pretty soon, with all these 2,000, 3,000 point moves, pretty soon it's going to be the time where we need to start looking into getting aggressive to try to help make your money back. So you think the same guys who led you off a cliff on the way down are the same guys who are going to be clueless on what to do on the rise up. There's a lot of opportunity to be made in this market. And I wish I made the sales pitch more. I wish I was repping this harder the past year and a half, because I could have saved a lot more people. And so people are like, oh, you're just a shill and you're saying this stuff and you're bad for Wham. Well, guess what? The day the guy told me that I was a shill on Wham was the day of the all-time stock market high. And the person that invested with the average investor would have lost 40%, and they would have lost 5% with me, but they would have went up 25% the year before. So they still would have been up massively. So I'm here to help people out. I want to protect people. And the bigger we get, then we're looking into hiring video editors. I'm talking to people just yesterday, different people to help with the audio. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes into this, getting producers. I've got a full-time career, also have kids, lots of stuff I need to do. And so people are like, how come you're not covering this? How come you're not covering that? Well, we're not a full-time news crew over here. And, and YouTube paying, nothing basically. And so it's only off your guys' support and super chats and working with us as clients, buying John's books. This is how we survive. And so,
it's unfortunate we haven't seen any super chats today, but hey guys, I mean, anything you guys could do, $1 a month on Subscribestar or Patreon, just sending $1 or $2 to GoFundMe. I mean, these are the things that will keep this media alive, because look, this channel is going to be gone soon. You can find us on iamband.com and send in your email to that newsletter there as well, all linked below. But we are seriously screwed if we cannot even discern from the information, and all we have is the mainstream media. All we have is their propaganda. And as we walk head first into a dragon's den right now, which is basically the New World Order, that is what this is. This is it. This is the reset. And people are still going, oh, it's fear mongering. Yeah, we're literally in it, and they're going, oh, it's fear mongering.
Well, Josh, actually, we should mention the video that we did. The global what was it called again? You remember that video that we did on the UN and how they're going to take over. Me and Josh did a 42-minute video and very great detail on how they plan to, take this over. And we can kind of see, a left, right, and center, how they're, making their chess moves right now.
And it's funny because I got more views on that with an average viewership back then when we had about 10,000 subscribers. And here we are at 138,000. We're not allowed to get views anymore. But I really appreciate everyone that does watch. Big shout out to DT, who sent Canadian $3 in the super chat. Says, here's a tip. Thank you for your service. Well, thank you very much for your service. Your service is what's keeping media alive. Your service is what's making it possible to bring this information to the forefront, because again, unfortunately, we have been vindicated in everything. We called every last step of this, guys, and people called us crazy all the way, and people are still calling us crazy as it's happening. And it's very disappointing that we are in a phase where even freedom fighters are bowing down, taking a knee and saying, please take me, government, take me, because I have nothing else, because I'm dependent. I don't have a way to protect myself. Only you can protect me. And this is really, really sad. And it goes back to that old quote, and this is how freedom dies, with thunderous applause. Well, let this not be the case, and stand up. Don't be a slave. Evade this racket. Evade this insanity. Do not accept it, and do not commit to this or obey this insanity. If all of you guys just stand up and stop obeying, we will be free. But if we continue on the way we're at, it's bad news for every last one of us, and you doom your neighbor as well. So anyway, I really hope everyone does whatever they can to break free from this insane racket, and send in your comments, send in those likes, hit that like button if you haven't already. Check those links below: GoFundMe, Patreon, Subscribestar, Bitcoin address down below. iamband.com. You can find us there. Tim Picciot's links, and obviously John's books as well. We'll be back with you guys with much more. Share this on social media, and I'm sure there's no shortage of news over this next week. Until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson, Tim Picciott, and John Snyson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.